There are plenty of tutorials for Project Zomboid to teach you different aspects of the game, from the most basic of skills to advanced knowledge to help you survive. But out of all of the videos out there, none really teach you how each season changes the game, from its weather to how zombie behavior might change, and even how the season will affect how you play the game. So that's what I will be doing. I've made a 4-part series called Surviving the Seasons that will look at each season, how it affects the world, what you should be doing to combat negative attributes of a season, and what you should take advantage of in each one. And everything I say is under the assumption that you kept all the settings on default. So with that out of the way, let's start with the summer. Summer is the default starting season when you start a new playthrough, as you will start in the month of July. Just as any new character, you will need to secure a base, level up skills, and find other things to help you survive, like a generator and a working car. But this video isn't about how to survive the first month, so let's get back to talking about the season itself. Summer spans from the months of June to August and is the season that has the longest daylight hours. Summer also has the highest temperatures out of any season, getting as high as 104 degrees. Even though it does get hot in the summer, you won't have to worry about this too much unless you are running a lot, are over encumbered, or have a lot of clothes on that have high insulation values. If the player finds themselves in at least one of these situations, they can become unpleasantly hot. This won't do much, as it will just slightly increase your thirst. If the problem persists, however, the player will become hotter until they become hyperthermic. At this stage, the player will become tired and thirsty significantly faster, have decreased attack and movement speed, get a slight reduction in awareness, and lose health slowly over time. You can also get hot by exercising, but it often won't progress to hyperthermia. If you find yourself hot, you can cool off by going indoors if you're outside, taking off clothing with high insulation values, or reducing your carry load if you're over encumbered. Another moodle to be aware of is becoming wet. The most obvious way to become wet is by standing outside in the rain, but you can also become wet by becoming hot, which makes this moodle relevant when talking about summer. Like most moodles, being wet comes in stages, though there is no direct debuff to the player if they become wet. Instead, each stage of being wet increases the player's chance of catching a cold, and having a cold makes it harder to sneak around zombies. Lastly, being hot increases the player's thirst, so you should know the consequences of being thirsty. The first stage of thirst will have no impact to the player, but the second and third stage will see the player's carrying capacity reduced by 1 and 2 respectively. The last stage, called Dying of Thirst, will cause the player to lose health until they die or drink some water. Now that we've gone over some of the summer basics and relevant moodles, let's talk about food and what you should be prioritizing. Currently, there are 5 main ways to get food in the game: by looting, farming, fishing, foraging, and trapping. When Build 42 comes out, you will also be able to raise and hunt animals for food. Since seasons have no effect on loot, I will skip talking about it in this series. Though looting can indirectly be affected by seasons by affecting how the player might interact with the world or the undead. For instance, since summer has the longest daylight hours, you might spend more time looting, and therefore you might find yourself in more precarious situations. But let's talk about food, and out of all of the ways to get food, let's start with my favorite: farming. Farming is quite possibly the easiest and most reliant way to get food. The only things you need are seeds and water. However, this can be a slight problem during the summer. The sweaty season can see very little rainfall, though this can vary a lot between each summer. As long as you have enough rainwater collectors to catch the water when it does rain, you will be fine. Farming yields in the summer are fairly good, and the player can easily make a surplus of food. If you do have a surplus, you should either compost it to get fertilizer in order to grow food faster, or you should use it as bait when you are trapping animals. Trapping is a pretty good passive way to get food, as once you've crafted the traps and baited them, you just have to occasionally check them for animals. You can catch squirrels, small birds, rabbits, and mice to eat. You can find what bait you should use and where you should put the traps if you want to catch a specific animal on the Project Zomboid wiki. As far as summer's effects on trapping, there seems to be no significant link. I've looked everywhere and tested it myself, but it seems like the season has no effect on trapping yields. As a matter of fact, it seems that no season affects trapping yields at all, so no matter what season you're in, you'll roughly see the same amount of animals trapped. This may change in the future, but you should take advantage of it while you still can. Another great option for food is fishing. Fishing is often the best and easiest way to get any type of meat after the power goes out, which can be very useful for maintaining and gaining weight. There really isn't much to say for fishing as the summer does not affect fishing yields much. There isn't a bonus for fishing during the summer, but there are no negative effects either like there is in winter and fall. The biggest thing to take advantage of is the 10% catching bonus at dawn and dusk every day. Though, make sure you don't keep fishing in the same spot as you will deplete the fish in the area and you will be forced to wait for them to replenish. Lastly, you can forage for your food. Foraging is a great choice as there are less negative effects that affect you in the summer. For instance, rain, snow, and fog incurs a 75% reduction in finding items, and darkness has a 95% reduction. Since summer has little rainfall and has the longest daylight hours, thus having the shortest night, it means you will not get affected by these negative effects as often as you would in other seasons. Some forageable items may have a better or worse chance of spawning in certain conditions. Frogs, snails, and slugs have a plus 50 bonus of being found during daylight hours, and worms have a negative 50 malus of being found during the same time. Other seasons may make it easier to find specific forageable items, but the summer gives you the best chance of finding most forageable items. So with everything talked about, these are the things that I think you should prioritize and do during the summer. The first is to make sure you have plenty of water. Make sure you have a solid number of rainwater collectors or live near a lake, the river, or buildings with water that you haven't collected yet. Next, I would mainly focus on fishing and foraging for your food. This is because there are no debuffs for fishing during the summer and you have the best chance of finding most forageable items during the season. Farming can be difficult to get a lot of value out of if you have a summer with very little rainfall unless you are near a lake or the river, and trapping is always a viable option, just personally not what I would prioritize during the summer. The last few things I prioritize during the summer are all things that make my life easier during the winter. When looting, always take any jars, jar lids, vinegar, and sugar that you might find. These are all essential for jarring food, which is a decent way to preserve food, especially during the winter. Another thing that will help you in the future is slowly making a stockpile of flammable materials for heating your house during the winter. This only applies to you if you are using a fireplace, antique oven, or a barbecue grill, but it's still something to be aware of. Lastly, if you live far away from a gas station, you should begin to stockpile fuel as you don't have to worry about it going bad as of right now. Plus, stockpiling gas early will make it safer than trying to get gas when there are more zombies in the world during the winter months. Obviously, there are a lot more things you should be doing to help you survive, like finding a generator, leveling up skills, getting a working car, and the such, but this video is only looking at things pertaining to helping you survive the summer. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments. Also, if you are confused or just want me to go into more detail about a certain aspect of the game, even if it's something like fishing, just let me know in the comments and I'll make a video about it. I'm in the process of making the fall, winter, and spring videos in this series, so stay tuned for those. Anyways, I hope this helps you, especially if you are a newer player. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.